Brian, we good?
You are good to go.
Okay, great, thank you.
All right, so it is now 5:20, and we will call this December Westfield Historic Preservation meeting to order officially. Note that we do not have a quorum, as we only have 2 members officially here and 1 online. So, you want?
Yeah, I'll take it. Yeah, so don't have a quorum today, unfortunately, but what we'll do is we'll have a January meeting that we'll publicly notice, and then that action item for the 2026 schedule of meetings approval will be done at that January meeting. So we'll just table that to the January meeting when we do have a quorum. And so no official action items will take place tonight, but I do want to take an opportunity just to touch briefly on just general discussion item, not an action item, just general information for the group. I actually had a progress meeting with Brandt Construction this week on the green building rehabilitation work that's been ongoing. You may have noticed that they recently rewrapped that building, have been doing some work on site this week. Just to give a quick update, the way that Brandt built out their schedule was to essentially have the building ready to be moved as soon as Duke has all their overhead electric underground. At this time, we believe that's going to be towards the end of January. And so their schedule reflects what they're doing on site right now is really they're taking advantage of with the building jacked up on beams currently. They are taking advantage of that condition to replace some of the timber sill beams that have been rotted out around that building. And that also kind of gives them the opportunity to make sure that building, to get really detailed measurements on the squareness or lack of squareness of that existing building, making sure that they can get the dimensions of that concrete basement foundation correct, and also coordinate with Wolf Building Movers to block out pockets within that basement wall so that when the building does move over, those beams have a place to sit on that basement wall, that concrete basement wall. So doing some survey work, some detailed measurements of the building, and replacing some of those timber sill beams, as well as some additional reinforcement within the building as well. They were able to salvage and recover some original materials within that building that had been covered up by plaster over the years. Some things of note, they did recover some original wallpaper in the inside of the building, which I think is pretty neat. They recovered some tin ceiling material that was actually in pretty good shape. Not the entire thing was in good shape, but there are pieces of it that are in quite good shape. The thought is to actually, there's enough of that tin ceiling to potentially even put that within the bathroom area of the finished rehabilitation building, so you can really see that original material in a much smaller square footage, of course, but within the bathrooms, which I think is a really cool idea that they had. And then additionally, they recovered, I think, about 6 square feet or so of original siding. We are going to send that to the state for do some paint analysis to make sure we can match up colors and stuff like that. So that was something our advisory team on the 32 project had requested. We have black and white photos of the building in its prominence, and you can do some colorization of black and white photos with some of that technology, but it's a little bit questionable. It certainly isn't as accurate as finding original and doing some paint analysis. So excited about that. With respect to the schedule, you'll probably see over the next 2 weeks, like I mentioned, that there's some replacement of some timber foundations that they're going to be doing. I think those white oak sill beams are supposed to be delivered actually next Monday on site. And then basically getting basement excavation going in early January to get that work going. So exciting times, definitely finally some progress, some movement on this project. Brandt has been great to work with, as well as our architecture trio who's doing our architecture work. So I'll pause there to answer any questions that you may have.
So John, I do have some questions. As you know, I sat on the original group for 32, so I still get updates from NDOT. So I received a letter earlier this week. You mentioned the advisory team. So is that, I know you are on that, but who else is on that team?
The advisory team is comprised of myself, Jennifer Beck from NDOT, Linda Nass from Westfield Preservation Alliance, Judy Shuck as a resident directly adjacent to the project, Chad Slider from the State Preservation Office, and Cliff Bradley has been on the advisory team. He's still a member, although he has not participated in quite some time since NDOT purchased his property. He was the original owner of the 102 South Union building.
Right.
And then Kellen Alexander, who is the NDOT person that is reporting and sending out those quarterly updates on behalf of NDOT to the State Preservation Board.
Okay. So in this letter that I received, it talks about this commission
Mhm.
being part of what's going to happen in the future. So at what point are we brought into the fold
Yep.
as regarding expectations, like who's going to be in that building, all that kind of stuff?
So the advisory team was responsible for guiding or providing recommendations for the rehabilitation, some of the design decisions along the way, as well as some other mitigation items throughout the 32 project. Where this commission comes into play is really, we made a commitment that once moved, that building would be protected by some type of covenants. And the easiest way to do that would have been through a local preservation commission. So in other words, I would encourage this commission to include that parcel into your jurisdiction and make sure that we're not, selling the property to somebody who's going to demo it or significantly change it. There's really no reason why the city would do that, but I think they wanted some additional assurances that building was going to remain in its location and in good historic shape. And so the way that going off memory here, the way that the MOU was written was that the local preservation commission would oversee that and be a steward of that property to make sure that it has protections in place. In the event that this preservation commission was not established, then Indiana Landmarks would have some type of mitigation and preservation covenants over that property and act as that overseer. Now that we have this commission, you guys would be that entity to make sure there's protections over that building.
Do you see that including things like determining the use and maybe establishing a line item in the city budget for maintenance of that building and protection of that building?
Yeah, I think I need to vet that further with our administration before I give you a firm answer on that, but I do think there's opportunity for that to happen, yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
I also noticed in reading through the schedule that they have, they talk about a first floor addition.
Mhm.
So are they going to change the size of the main building?
So the original building had what was known as the chicken room, I think, and it was like this one-story add-on that I believe was utilized for, I'm told at least at one point, like literally, there's some chickens back there.
Killing the chickens.
Correct. That was not in a good enough shape to really move with the building. And so we moved the 30 by 60 dimension of the building that was kind of that had the basement underneath it that we could really access. In order to move that chicken room had to be basically demoed, and it was not in great condition to begin with. So working with our architect, there is a new addition on the back side of the 30 by 60 building that's going to move that provides some additional usable space, but it will be a brand new build on the back. I'm going off of memory here, but I believe there's like an access door back there, some additional storage space, and possibly even one of the bathrooms is back there. I think so, if I remember correctly. If not the bathroom, it's the stairwell up to that second floor apartment that's going to be within that addition. So,
Is there going to be a basement?
yes, there will be a basement for the mechanicals.
Just for mechanicals. I wondered if they were going to focus on the tunnel. That was, I think, one of the main reasons this building was preserved. And in some way, shape, or form be able to be utilized as maybe an opportunity for interpretation of what happened supposedly with that building.
Yeah, I mean, we did pretty extensive research on that, on the quote-unquote tunnel. And it was determined that was actually a sidewalk elevator. So there was in the basement, and if you go to the wine vault, in the basement of the wine vault, there's a similar sidewalk elevator opening. Totally understandable why people believe that was, they do a line on the north and south side of 32, but historically speaking, the Green Building at one time acted as a general store, and so when you had very limited refrigeration options, you would unload product and goods from the sidewalk, street side, and then there'd be a sidewalk elevator going down to an opening in the basement where they'd store some of those goods. And that's what we determined, because we actually did ground penetrating radar within the 32 footprint to ensure there wasn't some other tunnel, and there wasn't. What in fact has happened was that opening to the sidewalk tunnel had been sealed in with cinder blocks and mortar, giving the appearance of, a sealed up tunnel, right?
Yeah.
The reality is that is really just a sidewalk elevator, unfortunately, which is not as exciting, but.
As the Underground Railroad.
But if you go to downtown Indianapolis, some of their buildings, you'll see still sidewalk elevators that
Oh, yeah.
exist in the sidewalk there, so.
So when do you think this commission will get pulled in to having any conversations about the future use of the building? I've heard things like maybe a little store on the main floor and an apartment upstairs, but.
I would probably think middle of next year would be, or perhaps even sooner, maybe spring of next year would be.
They're talking, was it August completion?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, so, my expectation would be kind of spring of '26, we start to talk about that. And like I said, I need to do a little bit more work on my end to talk with our administration on how they want to handle rents and finances of that. But I know we want to make sure that the use is something that is beneficial to the community, and I think there's some real opportunity there.
Yeah, it'd be neat if it could tie in with the historic district.
Yep.
That, whatever that use may be.
Yep, agreed.
Sorry, my phone's in there. I just wanted to bring one other thing up. You and I talked about it prior to Jake getting here. I'm in the Westfield Rotary Club, and Tuesday morning, Scott, the mayor, did a kind of a condensed version of the state of the city. He also shared the renderings of future plans for downtown. And during the discussion of that, he brought up the fact that he was encouraging that we come up with some kind of historic walking tour, that he didn't want to leave out Westfield's history with the development of downtown and that kind of thing. So I bring it up tonight because to me it seems like that would be a really great project for us to embrace and get involved with and help lead.
So where my mind goes with that's interesting is like, if you've ever been to, have you ever been to Alcatraz as example, or a place like that that's a historic site where they've actually got like an audio tour.
Mm-hmm.
Thinking like something like that.
Exactly.
That could be done as some interactive, not interactive as much as just like an audio tour where you can lead people through. Could be really neat with a map,
Mm-hmm.
and the map, could be interactive. It could be something on an iPad or something that people could pull up on their iPhone. And
Right.
there was some discussion about something like that when we did our maybe
When we were out.
view. Yeah,
Yeah, when we were out on our
walking
sidewalk.
this fall.
Yep.
Could be really interesting.
Yeah, and I think I was mentioning to John way back when we experimented with this idea before, the library had opportunities for grants to help fund that kind of thing. And then I would think also the Historical Society may have an opportunity to request funding for those types of things, and maybe we can.
Yeah, I wonder if we could incorporate the voices from the past as well into that app. I think that would be pretty cool.
Yeah.
Pretty great.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll be quiet now.
Oh, that was great. I think that was a really good discussion. Any other questions before we adjourn? And apologize for appreciate your guys' time, obviously, and apologize we couldn't get a quorum together to get our schedule a meeting for 2026 approved, but it's all right. We'll get a public notice out there. No worries. Okay, no questions. If you guys want to adjourn. Yeah. I guess, I don't know. I suppose you can make a motion in a second and we adjourn. Yeah. All right, thanks. Thanks, Brian.
Sure thing. Have a good one.